Okay, welcome everyone. We're in a cozier room this afternoon, so thanks for coming. I'm calling to order the Emergency Medical Service District 2 Board meeting this Monday, September 9th, 2024. We have rather full agenda, so we're going to jump right in. And I would just mention first that Councillor Young is filling in for Councillor Medvigi because he was not able to attend. So thank you for stepping up. I appreciate that. Okay, so starting off with approval of the minutes. If folks have had a chance to look at the minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we have bylaws to take a look at here. Thank you for drafting those, Deb. Get my right paper up here. Okay, so I don't know that we've had bylaws in the past, but I think there's, especially this year, EMS District 2 is going to be playing a more active role, and we needed to have a framework, I felt. So are there any thoughts or revisions or questions?
I have a thought. Eric Overall's City of Battleground representative. Article 3 of the bylaws states the members of the board is composed of 2 members of the county legislative body and 1 member representing the cities that are part of EMS2. That's myself as the member representative. And I would propose that we amend the member count to a count of 5 versus 3, and maybe comprise that of still 2 members of the county, 1 member representing the cities, and potentially a commissioner and a chief, to add 5 members on that body, just to give us a little bit more ability to communicate without having a quorum.
So potentially another city rep and 1 of the chiefs?
Yeah, maybe a city rep and a chief, or a commissioner and a chief, or 2 chiefs. I'm not quite sure. I'm open to recommendations from the body, but I think that would be productive.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I wonder if that's something we can actually change within these bylaws, or we can.
Yeah,
this is still an active document.
Right, right.
It's a draft.
Are there any other regulatory founding documents or anything that would need to be changed as well, or this is it?
Well, we've never had bylaws before, so the composition of EMS District 2 has always been governed by the ILAs that have been in place.
Well, ILAs and all those are potentially changing.
Correct.
Okay, any other thoughts or discussion?
You know, I had a conversation earlier today, and that was one of my questions, why it was only 3, and you know, 2 county council seems a little bit heavy-handed in terms of representation. So thinning that out and increasing the number to 5, I think would make sense to me, but you guys are much more familiar with the activities in this board, so I'd be interested in hearing what you guys have to say.
Well, our experience stems from the beginning of this year, so
yeah.
that's as extensive as it gets. I agree that it's very awkward to have a board of 3.
Yes, ma'am.
To even just communicate with one other person can be very helpful. Would you like to specify a chief and a city person, or just say 2 additional people, and then this?
I mean, again, I'm open to a consensus, but I don't have a chief in mind, but I think maybe we could take a poll and see who might want to be.
Or we might let them pick amongst themselves.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Out of the 3.
They're an agreeable bunch.
Decide, let democracy reign on that, and then as far as commissioners go, or another representative I don't disagree with, Mr. Young that it is, two county council members. I do understand that this is a representative of all of unincorporated Clark County, so I do get that. But if we want to create a balance, maybe another representative from another city fill in for, one of the other county council members, and then, you know, just figure out a way to comprise 5 out of all proper representation of what we're actually trying to achieve, which is all of Clark County being safe and healthy with EMS ground services.
So are you suggesting one county councilor?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I don't actually have a firm recommendation. I feel like you guys are representative of all of us unincorporated county, so I understand that. So I'm not disagreeing with that, but I also see where Mr. Young's point of view would come from on that. I was more interested in getting representation from the chiefs and possibly commissioners of the districts that represent this.
The commissioners that represent the fire district?
I should say fire district commissioners,
Okay.
possibly. I was just looking at ways we could be flexible in that, but, yeah, I definitely want to have at least one chief on here. I think would be beneficial to us. And then I was looking at alternatives, so whether it be 2 chiefs or 1 commissioner and 1 chief, as long as, the idea was to have a representative from the districts be able to be a part of this, in a fashion that would create balance. They're the ones that, tend to be the brunt of our decision-making here, so might as well let them have a voice in that.
Right. I guess I would be cautious about just having 1 county councilor, because the county historically has served in this role and provide the administration and legal support, staff support. I guess I'd just be
I don't
cautious
disagree
about.
with that.
And just to, I didn't want to be rude and pull out my phone, but the statute that enables forming an EMS district, I believe might mention something about 2 county legislative members, but I can check that now or check that afterwards. I just didn't want to be rude
Well, I
and pull out
think if we're
my
going to
phone.
make a decision, it'd be good to know that in
Well,
advance. So that's what I
Pull
was.
your phone out.
Perhaps I would chime in, and I would say, with my inexperience with this board, I would be very hesitant to reduce to 1. I'm okay thinning it by adding 2 seats, but I don't think I would be interested in removing a county councilor. Does that make sense? So it'd still be 2 county councilors, but we add 2 seats and.
And I think 1 for a fire chief.
I absolutely think 1 fire chief.
And I think having an additional city rep could be good too.
I'm not opposed to that either. We have been trying to communicate with some of the other representatives, or the mayors and the offices of the cities. I don't know, if we've gotten any headway on that, but,
I didn't do it again, not yet.
okay. But.
Yeah, and I think that it's been difficult to communicate with them, that they have more of a stake by serving on the board, I think could help with that. And in the future, we don't know what the expense might be for any of us beyond this next year. So,
You are correct.
and those cities, it'll be the city, I don't know who's gonna pay.
Yeah, who's gonna pay?
But, I don't know, I think that would be good to have their involvement.
I would say maybe, to name names, Mayor Onslow from Ridgefield, because of the investment that they would have in this, could be a good representative as far as that goes.
Right.
Looking at 2 representatives on the small cities.
Well, as that spells out how they're selected in a rotating fashion, it seems like still continuing that rotating fashion, and leaving it up to each of the city councils to pick as it rotates around, so it'll rotate kind of, I guess, 2 by 2.
I think we have an alphabetical order, if I'm not correct,
There's
starting
just
with.
3 cities.
There is, and I have pulled up the RCW. I'm just
Mhm.
going to read it. So this is, for the record, RCW 3632480. emergency medical service district, creation, authorized, composition of governing body, and under subsection 3, the members of the county legislative authority shall compose the governing body of any emergency medical service district which is created within the county, provided that where an emergency medical service district includes an area within the corporate limits of a city or town, the emergency medical service district may be governed as provided in an interlocal agreement adopted pursuant to RCW 3934, or Chapter 3934. And so we would have to, in the interlocals with the cities, change, I think, the composition from what it currently is. And I think that's why the city representative was included in the interlocals that we previously had.
Okay, so I'm just wondering what comes first.
So I can revise the
Yes.
member section, and if the board wants to give me guidance around what they would like to see, if the member composition changes, we can incorporate that into the ILA we have with the county and the cities.
Great. So I think it may be we can maybe give a nod to our intention, but not formally adopt anything until we get that final language. Does that seem agreeable?
Yeah, I think a minor verbiage change too. So as it says now in our proposed bylaws here, the board is composed of 2 members of the county legislative body, and then we could amend that to say, and 2 members representing the cities that are part of EMS too, and one of the representatives from one of the fire districts, and maybe those could rotate as well. The two.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be great.
Between 3,
Yeah.
6, and 2, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That way it's an evolving body, but it also has a ground rule set, and they could opt out, like it says now, but we would just then move on to the next alphabetical order or numerical order of district or whatever. But that would be an easy change. That I know with the ILA, that would have to be reflected in that as well, but I'm just looking at the bylaws.
I do think the way it's written, the members of the county legislative authority shall compose the governing body of any emergency medical service district created within the county. And then provided that where the emergency service district includes an area within the corporate limits of the city or town, the emergency medical service district may be governed as provided in an interlocal agreement. So I think that's why the interlocal agreement would need to reflect this change. I think the statute is just saying it needs to be composed by the county legislative authority as the governing body of EMS District 2. And so there's never been bylaws before. And so the composition of the board has only been reflected in the prior interlocal agreement, which makes sense based on how the statute is written. So I think I can change this language a little bit and propose language that's a little bit more in line with the statute and reflects that the county legislative body, will compose the membership of EMS District 2 consistent along with the interlocal agreement adopted by the county and the cities, and that interlocal would include the changes that I believe are being discussed and proposed today. Does that make sense?
And that doesn't conflict with the RCW?
It wouldn't, as long as the ILA reflects the composition that this board wants.
Okay, so can we, if we are all in agreement with the intent of those changes, provide a nod to Deb to move forward and bring something back at our next meeting, which will be in October. Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Good. Okay, so moving on, discussion and approval to form a work group. I don't know if this was distributed to the chiefs or anyone? Because I can just,
I don't think so. Rebecca has it to display. I
oh,
know
okay,
it's hard to
okay.
see.
All right, it is hard to see. Did you get a copy
I
of
don't have
this?
one here.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
sure
I'll
Dan got it.
just, it's not long, I'll just read it. And this is a proposed work group. The purpose, to develop options for ambulance services for 2026 and beyond by outlining potential opportunities and exploring different models of service, i.e. contracting with a private contractor, it says fire-based model, but I think that should be fire district-based model, is that what?
It would be like fire would run it, so that could be city or district.
Oh, okay.
It's just a model.
Okay. Within EMS District 2. So membership stakeholder groups, not an all-inclusive list. EMS District 2, City of Battleground, La Center, Ridgefield, or Woodland. Oh, Woodland, it would be one of those cities that would be included. And just a note here, because we may not change the makeup of this board when this gets started, or depending on the makeup of this board, if there was an EMS District 2 represented, and for example, you represented Battleground, and that we would be able to do that. This, one of the other cities would have to participate, or somebody else from Battleground, but that may be moot, depending on how we go forward. So membership, Clark County Fire District 3, Clark County Fire District 6, Clark Cowlitz Fire Rescue, Clark Regional Emergency Services Agency, CRESA, Clark County Medical Program Director. So that is the suggested makeup, but not all inclusive. The budget that we have to work with, and it sounds like we may or may not need all of this budget, but we have funding that's been identified at $100,000 for a consultant. We've allocated $40,000 for the remainder of this year, $60,000 for next year. And the considerations for this work group would be regulatory oversight, contract administration and oversight, system standard of care administration, control center operations, ambulance services, market rights, production methods, financing, performance requirements, and fail-safe provision and funding. So that would be the scope of this work group. Your thoughts, questions, concerns?
I think it's a great idea. I think we need to have a work group that's focused on this, especially for calendar year 25, so we have a plan going into 26.
Got to have a plan.
It's fairly county heavy of the composition of the membership, because EMS 2, you guys are already fairly.
Well, it would be one member from EMS
Okay.
District 2. So it would be one, which could be any one of the three of us, or any one of the five of us, if that's what we become.
And then we'd have another.
And then it would be, and my thought was that somebody from Clark County could be the county manager. And then otherwise, Cresta, yeah, so two basically
I'm not
from the
opposed.
county.
I think it's a good idea to get more hands and heads together to make it happen.
Yeah. Would you like to look at that?
I saw it. I was
Okay.
looking over your shoulder pretty good.
We will.
Good, great. All right, so, and again, we don't have to spend all of the money that's allocated, because there may be some alternative plans that are floating out there and resources that we haven't considered yet.
Just, where is that funding coming from?
It's the fine money. There's fine money when the ambulance service arrives late, the agreed.
Oh, okay, right, okay, but it's
window.
it's the same budget, it's not like there's some sort of a grant that's covering.
No,
Okay,
no.
gotcha.
It's already loaded fine, so it's already sitting in a pool.
Yeah, of which, actually, I think I did the math on this, I think it's in minutes here, just that you asked. The total amount currently is $360,000. We will be expending $169,800, which would leave $190,200 as the remainder. So I did the math before we started. Okay, so I don't know, should we move to approve this work group going forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Is there anyone in particular from EMS District 2 who would like to participate on the stakeholder work group? I'll participate.
There you go.
Okay, I'll do that. Great. Just want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to participate. Now, we would like to hear from the fire chiefs, because we had a communication from Chief Mauer that you all were working on something, and we may not need to hire a consultant. So we just wanted to give you an opportunity, if you choose to chime in at this point. Oh, there you are. Couldn't see you around the corner.
Just in the corner there. Yeah, so
You want to come, just make yourself comfortable.
Background camera.
Been working with Deanne and forwarding her our communications to and from consultants. We have one consultant group that fits within the price range that does this work. This is really the fire chief's wheelhouse of work, EMS transports and districts, and so we understand this.
More than anyone. We understand that.
So, in contact through fire chiefs across the state, there are many fire chiefs that do a fire-based EMS transport service, and they do it outside of EMS districts. So we are communicating with them to look at how we can provide those services. So they can do a preliminary setup with us to let us know how that process works and how to get it set up and the background of it. So preliminary investigation of how our current process is, what's working well, what's not working well, and looking at different options if we want to go those routes.
And that would be via a consultant?
That's via the fire chiefs at a cost-neutral price.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Great.
No cost, yeah. So we just wanted a little more time before the EMS council committed to a consultant so that we can explore those options.
Great. Any questions from the board?
The only thing I would say is, you know, if there's any resource supplement needed or something, to just kind of consider that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they'll help us point the direction on, if we move forward with the consultants, exactly what to ask. Clarify that consulting
If
process.
an additional consultant
Yeah.
is needed to be brought on, that sounds good. And can you explain the fire-based system, what that would look like? Right now, where there's a separate contract with AMR, so what would be different about this?
There's lots of options.
Oh,
So they do them all different ways, but a fire-based EMS system would be where the fire department actually runs the transport system. So it wouldn't be through a private entity, it'd be through the fire agencies.
Each individual agency?
Correct. Or you could do it through a JPA and do countywide. You could do lots of different options.
Okay, great.
But yes, it's essentially firefighters on ambulances running ambulance transport services.
I could be wrong also, but that will open us up for some funding opportunities through governmental fire EMS. That,
Exactly.
will help cover the cost of Medicare. It was one of the hindrances,
Yeah.
it's coming up short on the Medicare rides, that AMR reflected that in their
Yeah.
agreement, but there are some funding that we could utilize if we go through AMR that we can't tap into, that we could if we're doing intergovernmental fire-based EMS.
Correct. Yeah, so it's called GEMT money, Ground Emergency Transport money, and it's a federal program. But it's only for public agencies, not for private.
Great. One thing I understand from previous conversations when it comes to, I don't know if it's licensing to serve as an ambulance provider, there are various hoops and requirements and data that needs to be generated, and just, I tossed that out to make sure that that's covered in all of this.
There is, if the system stays the same, when there's a change in the system, some of those hoops drop down, or drop out. And so that's another thing the fire chiefs across the state are helping us work through that process. But right now, it's just District 6 and District 3 that would need help with that process.
Great.
And
Great.
There's other options to work under Clark Howlett's license.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm imagining that in a month, all the I's will not be dotted and T's crossed, but that you'll have more information to provide. And I think that your suggestion to hold off on hiring a consultant until we get more of the information from you all would be great. So that'll be on our agenda.
Okay. More to come.
And if Deanne or Deb can help you, or you have questions in the interim, please reach out.
Yeah, Deanne now is on all the email correspondence with consultants and all their office of fire chief discussions as well.
Great. Yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you very much. EMS consultant hiring clarification. And this was another thing that there was some back and forth in emails about if a consultant is needed, who hires that consultant. And I guess my thought was that the county should hire the consultant and then work closely with the work group and the fire chiefs. But because, and my thinking here is, EMS District 2 is the only entity that really covers all of the multiple jurisdictions involved, which makes this more complicated than most things. So it's the cities and the county and EMS District 2 and all the fire districts. So there's a whole lot of room for miscommunication in all of those levels that EMS District 2 as an umbrella would be helpful. Any other thoughts as far as hiring the consultant who develops that? And we get, I see the fire districts as partners in developing whatever we need to go forward. This will be an open process, and we encourage everybody's involvement. So nods on that front. Okay, great. Because we agreed on a number to spend, but we hadn't agreed on actually who does what. Right. Good. Okay, and there's a request to change the meeting day and time. And Monday, I don't know how Monday was selected, but I just wanted to, that's one of the most difficult things any committee can deal with, is picking dates and times. So any thoughts on Monday as a meeting time?
The only thing I would say is, especially with looking into bringing more members on board, you definitely want to make sure, it doesn't conflict with any council meetings in the different jurisdictions, but I don't know if the fire chiefs have any conflicts. I don't know.
My input is Mondays aren't bad personally for me because of the time at 1 p.m. We do have council meetings that run.
Mm-hmm.
But the chiefs are pretty good about being here every meeting almost. And we have been able to attend. I'm not opposed to another day, but I would be remiss as to change the time too much until maybe we have a board that's comprised of 5 and get their input on that time.
Okay. And chiefs, I know you're around the corner. If you have any input on that, maybe Deanne can reach out and we can just think about this a little bit going forward. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think you all received the draft interlocal agreement with the City of Vancouver and the Business Associate Agreement. Deanne, do you want to speak to these items at all? We're awaiting Vancouver City Council approval. That's why these aren't action items today, because process-wise, they really need to approve them before we approve them. So, any thoughts?
Deanne Cordes, Contract Administrator for the county. We actually talked about these last meeting, if you recall, and some of the concerns that Deb and I had have been resolved with the city. So these are a pretty good working draft, unless you guys have any other comments or concerns that we should address.
Yep. And that's the same with EMS, the draft EMS interlocal cooperative agreement with the cities and the draft business associates agreement with the counties and the cities.
This is actually the first time you guys are seeing this. I didn't quite have it ready for the last meeting. So again, I know that this is the first time you're taking a look at it, but it's very similar to the Vancouver one, but also the current one. It's just been kind of updated as well. So I don't know if you have any questions regarding that. If you guys are comfortable, we'd like to take this draft and start talking to the Clark County Council as well as the cities and get their feedback and input. So if there's no questions or concerns with this, and if I can move forward with that.
I would like to do that.
That sounds good. That'll take some time.
Yes, it will. And then the business associate agreement is also just very similar, and that has to do with the HIPAA and the protected information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, fine money restrictions. That was something that came up at our last meeting, and Deb has taken a look at, dug through all the documents, and maybe you could give us a summary of where things stand with how that money is to be used, or if there's any direction at all.
Sure. Deb Wetzelblatt, Clark County Deputy Prosecuting Attorney representing EMS District 2. So going through, I guess the short answer is currently there does not appear to be any particular direction or restriction on how the fine money is spent. So as long as it's relating to ambulance services, it seems as though this board has wide latitude to decide how to spend that. Historically, there had been more direction on how to spend the money when CRESA had managed the contract. There was particular language in that contract that the money had to be spent, quote, for public education and first responder support. That language dropped out when CRESA no longer managed the contract. There was some other specific contract language around spending it as well. So at this point, as I indicated before, looking through the currently operative ILA, looking through our code provisions, there was nothing that spoke to the fine money anymore. So my opinion is that it's at the board's discretion how to use that.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for that work. And so moving on, fire district update. If any of the fire districts would like to come forward and provide any input, we welcome it. Please sit down.
So Chief Maurer, Clark County Fire District 6, and I wanted to give an update on the fire districts in EMS District 2. So since this board came back together, we have brought forward the need for MDT purchases, LEBRAM, which is the software purchase, and the consultant. We started talking about that in June, and the funding hadn't been released. Now, if I'm understanding right, we have to wait for a draft process to go through, to go back to county council to get these funds released, to get the purchases that we want to make with the fine money. So the Levram piece, the software piece, is something we need to put in play right now, because that's going to help us work through ambulance placement and response in our county. And then the MDC purchases, that's something that we have been putting off, but we're to the point where we need them now too. So I think the fire districts just need some clarification on how the funds will be released and when, because like I said, we needed to make these purchases back in June, and now we're coming up to September.
Great, thank you for that. So do we have clarification on how the county process will work? And just as you mentioned that, because it sounds like there's some urgency in this purchase, whether or not reimbursement, if you need to move forward with purchase, if reimbursement is a possibility. I look to you, Dan.
Absolutely. So
Jan.
my understanding of the process is that, so we've identified it in the fall supplemental budget, but that budget doesn't get approved until November 5th. And so I would need to go before the Clark County Council and ask for pre-approval of that. And then also the second piece to that is that we need to do an interlocal agreement with the fire district to be able to disperse the money to them. So it's kind of a two-step, but they can go in tandem. And so I will work on both of those pieces. I actually have a staff report drafted up for going before the Clark County Council, and then I just need to work on the interlocal piece as well.
So this could be done prior to November 5th?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And does that mean then we can purchase in November? Like, can I tell the fire districts, hold off till November for your MDCs, or is that like paperwork and then it goes back to county council for more approval?
My understanding, once we get the Clark County Council approval to pre-spend the money before the November 5th, and then we have the ILA in place, they can then disperse the money when ready. But because of the way the board meetings fall with the EMS District 2, I would need to get their approval to spend that money, unless we can do, I don't know if we can do that today or if we have to wait till October.
When would the next council be, that this council meeting, that the county council meeting?
I
could
missed
come up?
the 17th deadline, so I might be able to get the next one, which would be the 24th
24th.
of September for that piece, and then I just need to get the draft ILAs done. I worked through the fire district process and then the EMS District 2 process.
Right.
I believe we can accomplish this before November 5th.
Okay.
Either way, the November 5th will give us the budget authority for 2024, but the ILA still have to be in place before any funds can be distributed to the fire district.
Okay.
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the
Sorry, there's so many hoops.
No,
I would
that's
just
okay.
like to say this money is EMS District 2's money that we've collected for the fines. It's not general fund dollars. It's not competing with the county's budget. So
Good.
please feel reassured by that.
Yeah, just, everything in emergency services, we want it to happen fast, so.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad about that.
But we, even though there's not that guidance in how the money is dispersed, the fire districts have always looked at it as first responder support, same as when it was written in CRESA. So the items that we're asking for are all for first responder support in the EMS system.
Great, and that's not to say going forward, maybe there is some specificity we want to put into that. I wouldn't close the door on that. Thank you.
So procedurally, real quick, was this something that was, from what you had mentioned, this hasn't actually been approved by the board yet? By the EMS2 District Board?
Last meeting, so the August meeting, we got the approval to do the budget packages.
Okay.
So I would say it was approved back then. That was the budget process. But to actually spend it, I would come back to the board and ask for authority
Okay.
to spend it.
So then my question, can you bring it to the county council prior to that happening?
I was gonna ask the county council for pre-approval
Okay.
for the budget authority piece
Okay,
prior
Okay.
to the supplemental.
it's being created.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yes. So that gives us the authority to spend the money before the actual budget process
Okay.
with the fall supplemental, excuse me.
Okay, clear.
I know, there's much.
All right, I think there's another chief that would like to come up. Heath?
No, I think you asked if we could spend the money and expect to be reimbursed. I think as a reimbursement
That they could do.
Well, we would be giving the fire districts the money, so I guess I would say the commitment by the board is there. When the fire districts want to spend it, we can't, I don't know, I'm not going to speak to that.
Okay.
But,
So the money that we asked for those items that were allocated at the previous board meeting, those monies will come to us.
that is, yes,
Okay.
that is what we've asked for, correct. The only thing that I realized, Chief Mauer, is that you had asked for $33,800, and I only did the $3,800.
Okay.
So we might have to figure out what to do with that, whether that comes out of the consultant, because that seems to be, I need to figure that piece out.
I think I think if the funds paid for the $30,800 for the Lebrum software package, that's what it's asking for. The additional $3,000 is for training employees. I'd rather not wait on a budget change to make that happen, so if the district has to pick it up, we can.
That was the only mistake I made.
Okay, and what is the simple answer as far as reimbursement? Or do we have a simple answer?
She's like, I don't have an answer.
Are there,
Well,
there's an
I guess what I'm saying is that EMS District 2 has committed the money to the fire district, and so if they choose to spend now and get it before the end of the year, I guess is what I'm, versus
We
waiting
will
for the
not
money.
object to that.
So
I
that
think
would
we
almost be
understand.
a form of reimbursement without committing to submitting receipts to the county and then being
Correct.
reimbursed.
Right. I don't know that they need,
I'm not gonna hold up that money anyway, no way.
Yeah.
I don't know that they need to submit receipts for anything. I think that
Right.
the board has already determined that this money will go to the fire district
And
for these things.
I did catch a piece of that, so once the county council approves it and releases that, then it has to come back to us and we have to approve it again.
I guess I'm asking you, is
Can
that
I pre-approve that, and just let it go, cut the check?
I feel like we have approved it
okay.
already.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it didn't come back to us as they wait for the funds.
Right.
I guess I'd like to ask for clarification on that, if you would like it. If you're giving me the approval today, then I will work through those processes I identified, and then once they're done, we can go ahead and give it to them.
So you're asking for a vote, basically?
I guess I will need to bring back the ILA with the fire districts, because it will be between EMS District 2 and the fire district. So you will see that in October for approval. That piece I will need approval on. So I don't know that anything can be done before October 12th, or 14th. I get that date wrong, I apologize. Does that make sense?
Understood.
So maybe that's when you're
The
granting your,
ILA portion still has to come back to be approved, because that is not even a written document.
correct.
Okay. All right,
Fair
so
enough.
we'll come back. All
You're
right.
getting your money.
Great.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it. We
Chief
appreciate
Mauer.
it.
Yes, thank you very much. Is there another chief or anyone else in the audience under the, well, I guess the fire district update? No, no. Okay, open public comment. This would be on agenda items only, and what we have been talking about is EMS District 2 and ambulance services.
I'm on the list.
Okay.
I'm the only one.
I don't know if we have a
Your speaker?
timer.
Do you wanna?
I have a timer up there.
On screen.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, that we
I
have.
just wanna make sure you can hear me.
I think we're good. Carmen, we're good.
I can't hear you. Okay, we're good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna kinda wing it then. Okay, so my name is Carmen DeLeon, and, I go by Mello. And, I guess I misunderstood. I thought there was an emergency, so I came to this because I thought there was like COVID or, you know, there's emergencies, health emergencies, and then they tell me there's no emergency. Okay, so you guys do this all the time. That's fine. I just wanted to say that I did pay attention to the August 12th minutes. And there was a fireman who was up there saying that I understand, that Clark County was having a money situation. And from what my understanding from going to these meetings is that, they said that they gave Comcast, extra $1 million by accident. So why don't they give that to the firemen or to the police? I mean, if there was an extra $1 million, where is it going? It should be going to the firemen, it should be going to the policemen. And that being said, we are the only country that can go bankrupt. And I know people who won't call an ambulance because they can't afford it. I'm not gonna get a $2,000 bill. I'd rather die in my living room. Can you come pick me up? I've had to do that. I've had to drive people to the emergency room because they don't want that bill. So maybe you can factor that into all this ambulance stuff that, you know, we're the only country where you can lose your job, your house, your car because you got sick. You know, other countries, they take care of all of that. And since I don't know how many minutes I got anyways, I'm so used to having to hurry because I always get shut on. But as when it comes to firemen, I'm sick of losing them. And if you've got this kind of money, you need to invest in robotics. So when there's a massive fire, you don't put lives at risk. And there's a robot, let the robot burn, you know, and make a robot. And I've seen them that they can squirt water, and it can be done. It's better than jeopardizing people you can't even hire. Now you want to go and get the ones that you have dead? I don't think so. If you have this kind of money, look into robotics to fight fires. You don't want no more houses collapsing on these people. You know, a robot can do the job. And I don't know what, you know, the money situation, that's you guys is, but if you want to invest, if you want consultation, hey, I'll do it half price, man. I don't know what kind of consultation you have that costs $100,000, but if you would just talk to these people and ask them how the job is going, you probably wouldn't need to waste all that money. Because really, communication is what makes the world go round. So why do you need a consultation of $100,000, what was it, $75,000 to $100,000 you guys are putting aside for a consultation fee, when we already know when people are in need of help, they don't care who you are, just come help them, you know? So I just think it's kind of ridiculous that much money when you can just talk to the employees. Hey man, how's it going today? How did this work? How did that work? Yada, yada, yada. Instead of some calls. Is that my time?
That's your time.
Oh, well, anyway,
Thank
God
you
bless
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Carol.
Nice talking to you. Bye.
Bye.
We have a couple of callers.
Oh, couple of
wow.
callers.
Look at us go.
Okay, caller, you've been unmuted. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, good afternoon. Kimberly Goheen Elbin, Patriot and Life Citizen of Clark County, Washington. So I'm assuming that this board is reconvening, that maybe it sounded like it was new and then it sounded like it stopped and then maybe started again. So I'd actually like a little bit more history, maybe in writing and or after we speak here today. Also, I did not hear any roll call. I don't know if this board's going to have a roll call. I recognize some voices, some I did not. I would appreciate that also. So I do have a concern. It would be to emergency, ambulance, all this, and you're under the emergency Board of Health, I'm guessing. But my concerns are with any interagency that you have with Vancouver. The reason why is Vancouver is following an agenda 21-2030 that is Marxist, and so that concerns me. Yes, the Clark County Emergency Board is located in the largest city in Clark County, which is Vancouver. So when they have that, they have an interagency agreement between the Washington Traffic Safety Commission and the Vancouver Police Department. It's called 2025 State 5347. It's called the Clark County Regional Phlebotomy Program, and then the GIS also. I have great concerns with that. It kind of was brushed over. It's passed. The blood, they're asking police officers to take blood, if I'm not mistaken, and then they're going to have to store it. They're going to have to worry about the needles. They might have another, somebody coming after them. I mean, it's a big deal, and I just want the public to be aware of that this is going on, a phlebotomy program, for Pete's sake. Also, so it seems like it flows against personal privacy laws, and I can imagine courts jammed with lawsuits. But then it seems to fit in with the Agenda 21-2030. Fact is we've actually polluted our earth so much. And then here we are with more people. Our EMTs, they have to pass a levy to get paid when they're the ones with boots on the ground, doing the actual life savings, and millions and millions of hard-earned tax dollars. As I'm a speaker, active speaker, seeing going to the fire department and the EMTs and the ambulances, but the people that are actually doing the jobs down there on the ground aren't getting paid. They have to pass a levy.
That's time. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Kimberly.
We have Jade Bork.
There.
There we go. Now you can hear me. Hi, Jade Burke, Commissioner, Callis Park Fire Rescue. I had a comment on your bylaws. When you were looking to revamp who that was, you know, who was going to be members of your board going forward. Something for consideration when I listened to the RCW being read off the information. It sounded like county commissioners and city representatives only. So I don't know when you mentioned having fire chiefs join, whether that's in there. So please take a look at that. I just want to make sure that we're doing things legally right, you know, as far as that's concerned with the interlocals. The other thing that came up with that is in consideration with that, your board is currently made up of elected officials. And again, something to consider is whether you want to continue with those elected officials, you know, if the fire districts are allowed. So it would be a commissioner as opposed to a paid position there. And still, of course, have the chiefs as consultants because their information is invaluable. But I just wanted to bring that forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? That's it? Okay. So our next meeting will be, Deanne, can you look that up really quick so I can announce it? October 14th. And we'll continue on this schedule. We'll reach out and get feedback from folks, I guess, and see if, well, we'll wait till we have our additional members, I think, and see what works for most folks. So see you October 14th, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah.
Thank you.